hey, I'm happy to be here. Anytime I can talk to Husker football, and I know you guys are about as knowledgeable as anybody that could go around. So it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna try and give somebody something different. I hope, let's give. We've got a lot of experience around here with you guys being around it, as long as I've been alive, and then me getting down there and actually getting to play. So I hope we get a little well-rounded show going.
Absolutely. That's what we got going here. We definitely have a lot of fun. We take whatever comments and questions we get in the chat. We really break it down as much as possible. And now to get your insight into it, this is going to be great. No question about that. So before we get into what's going on right now, Josh, we want to hear from you. We have had, as you can imagine, with the history of Nebraska football and everybody a little disgruntled about what the records have been recently. We get those old time questions all the time about what happened way back then. Let's start out with this. When you were first recruited and signed, what was your viewpoint on Nebraska football and in terms of history, tradition? Did you have a sense of it and an appreciation at that point?
Yeah, I definitely had a head start because my dad was back in the 80s. So, I know, when everybody talks about, we were like this in the 90s and the 90s and the 90s, and they keep pushing that forward. I'm like, well, pretty good in the 80s, because my dad was telling about the Game of Century 2, and they were so close against Oklahoma another year, and then if there weren't 2 fumbles and a great Keith Jackson catch on the sideline, they would have walked through Georgia Tech in the championship. So, man, and all the black shirts I've got to meet through the years and everything. Just so, yeah, I had a huge head start on a lot of guys, and that probably gave me a little more appreciation than most of the recruits coming in, but that was a big thing when I was getting recruited. Bo and Coach Els and everything, they kind of wanted me to help recruit, I guess, because I had asked once I got offered. I went in to Bo and I was like, hey man, I'm coming here, right? Like, I live 10 minutes from the stadium. My mom's gonna do my laundry on the weekends. I'm coming here, but let me take my other visits. Let me go get a free. At the time, Oregon was top 5 in the country. I'm like, let me go get a free meal and have a weekend in Oregon. Let me see what Eugene's like. I'm coming here. And he just is like, no.
I think you were the second commit in your class, right? If I'm not mistaken.
First one that came here, second commit, Marcus McWilson. He ended up going to Kentucky, but he was the very first. Yeah. So I tried to recruit a lot of those guys. Ethan Carter still gives me some crap sometimes because I didn't even know you, and you were like Twitter messaged me like, Merry Christmas, dude. You know what I mean? Some cheesy high school stuff. But I was like, you came here, so it must have worked somehow.
We've had Josh on for like 3 minutes, and I've already just certain things that he said has brought me to like 15, 20 questions I want to ask. So I'm going to have to space it. We got plenty of weeks to go. We got plenty of weeks because there's no way I can cram them all in because I got all sorts of games are coming to mind that you were on the field for that I got all sorts of questions. But we'll get into it because, of course, we want to address the 2021 Huskers. But with changes on the coaching staff, there was something that you said before we started to record about having you didn't have 3 particular defensive coordinators, but knowing guys, playing with guys. Talk about that transition because I think that gets undersold. People talk about the head coach, but not – obviously, you're dealing with your position coach. That's who you build a relationship with when you got recruited, and then the D coordinator and what that transition's like and how difficult it is.
Yeah, man. Well, it's tough on a lot of different levels. Obviously, the new scheme, you got to learn that. So, I like I said, my man Luke Gifford had 4 D coordinators in 5 years. So you finally, okay, I think I got it by the end of the season, and then you're like, I'm going to get good with spring ball and I'm going to understand it. And then you got to just go back to the basics. And I always tell everybody when you first learn a defense, by the time you get to the season, yes, I understand it, but there's a certain way that the brain process, I'm getting all scientific, but the brain processes it. You know what I mean? So I've got to be able to just see something and at the snap of a fingers, I know it. So that first install, that first season, don't really have it that good. Some of your smarter players might get it. So then that second season, all of a sudden, I'm a little bit quicker. And as soon as those base details are down, you know what I mean? Now I can move into the finer details. But Man, like especially the biggest thing for us on the transition from Bo to Coach Riley was you had a lot of guys that were Bo guys and a lot of guys that were now Riley guys. So there was this rift. There was this rift in between guys where the new staff would come in and be like, this is how we do things. And you still had some guys who were like, nah, like that's not how Bo did it. So I don't like this new staff, and I don't really know as much about the way that it went from Riley to Frost because I know less and less guys, but I'm sure there were some guys who were like, this isn't really what we're supposed to do here. Like we've never done it like this before. So there's always that little rift. That was the biggest thing for us on the transition.
Good stuff. Again, we talk Nebraska football here every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Time with Greg Peterson from Husker Online. He's got some great stuff available on his YouTube channel right here, Husker Online. Just look it up. Josh Banderas joining us here. He'll just be Josh from now on, but Josh Banderas, you know the name. I looked it up. We got 232 total tackles for you in 4 years. That's not bad work. 93 your final season there in 16.
Yeah, the first 2 years just probably should be eradicated. They were terrible. Terrible first 2 years. I was not a good player. It took me a while to catch my stride.
Yeah, 17 tackles for loss. Don't want to short you one. 17.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks there in 43 games. That's a lot of games played in a college football career.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I definitely don't regret any part of it. I probably should have redshirted. I kind of got thrown into the fire. I maybe wasn't quite ready for it, but no, I mean, I got a lot of experience really quick, and that definitely helped me in my, in the years to come, in my junior and senior year, especially being able to just be a part of big games, road trips, the whole process. That's something that helps a ton.
Let me tell you, let me jump in there and just educate some people too on Josh's high school background a little bit too. I had moved back from being on the national team at Rivals from Nashville, and Josh was an up and coming player, and for his Lincoln Southwest Silverhawks, he was Mr. Do Everything. He played linebacker, he played running back. I think he even punted and kicked at certain times and stuff, but. Josh was a highly ranked recruit coming out of high school. We went down to Atlanta, Georgia, with Josh and his dad Tom. And he participated in the Rivals 5-Star Challenge. So outside of Baker Steinkuhler, Josh is the highest ranked prospect to ever come out of Lincoln Southwest High School. And you know what? He was a player, and he still is a player. And you know what? I don't think Josh has given up the dream yet. Have you, Josh?
I'm still hoping. I did a spring league down in Houston, so that was a little 8-week showcase just to kind of try and get some new film out there because they say in the football world, film it ages in dog years, right? So I've been out of it long enough that it's just irrelevant. Like the older stuff, it's just people don't care about it. So we'll see if something comes around, something in the CFL or the USFL is coming back, maybe. But I'm definitely kind of looking into the future and maybe trying to get into the coaching world.
What do you say we take one question for Josh? And again, we're going to have a lot of weeks to pick his brain about his experiences and what he sees out of the Huskers right now. And this is pretty standard question, not cutting on you here, Moose Strick, because it's a great question. Most memorable game?
Oh, the Northwestern game was probably the best. I mean, it's a Hail Mary. I just remember sitting on the sideline and I'm like, probably not. Like, we're going to lose to Northwestern at home. It's a terrible feeling. And then all of a sudden that happens. So that one's like my most memorable favorite, just for obvious reasons. But my most memorable is the UCLA game my freshman year. It was like my first full game starting. And I remember on the drive we let the first touchdown of my career was let up, and it was in South Stadium, and I just remember like kind of looking at the crowd. I'm like, damn, I'm sorry, man. Like I got apologizing to the crowd. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to let this happen. You know what I mean? So that sticks out to me the most, just because I was in the stands and I remember like, dang, they scored. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry I let this happen. So that's the most like memorable one, but the best one, obviously, Northwestern.
And that game too, I was right there with you, Josh. You had Ron Kellogg Jr. in there at quarterback, and Jordan Westerkamp made just an unbelievable catch. But I was right there with John. I gave up, and I was already walking the other way, and my camera wasn't even on the field when that play happened. And I kind of caught the back end of the bench, the Nebraska bench, and everybody just, yeah, that was amazing. That's probably one of my most memorable games ever in Memorial Stadium. And I'm an old man, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, nobody knows that Nate Gary just about died on that same play because he ran in, and you can like rewatch the film, and he jumps on the pile first, and he fell backwards. So he's laying on his back, and the rest of the team's on him. So he to this day, he'll swear like he almost passed out and he couldn't breathe. You know what I mean? Because everybody was on him, and it was so exciting. So we almost lost a legend there.
Hey, Josh, before we get on to what's going on right now, another twist on that question is, do you look back at a game that you played that you think you were at your best? Was the best game you ever played?
Either the Holiday Bowl against UCLA or the Wisconsin game in 2016 where we lost in overtime. The UCLA game was kind of I won't say breakout because, like I said, my first 2 years, for whatever reason, I just wasn't playing that good. I wasn't the kid I was in high school, and then Bo obviously gets let go. So Papoose just came up to me and was like, "Dude, just go out there and just don't even think about scheme. Don't worry about anything." And because we didn't really have a scheme because Bo was gone, we just kind of went out there and yeah, man. So that kind of kickstarted my confidence for the rest of my career. So both of those I think were the best games that I played, but UCLA set me up for a lot more.